15 years ago or so, we had platforms like that, Netflix, Airbnb, Uber, that initially positioned themselves as disruptors in the industry. Netflix was saying initially that they empower the independent filmmakers to reach their audiences. Airbnb, it was we help make a better use of public space because we use the unused rooms in the homeowners' places. And Uber was the talk about better utilization of cars. Now, 15 years later, Airbnb is contributing to raising housing prices, making local residents struggle. Now we have these apartments that are just designed for short-term rentals in cities. Uber is contributing to traffic congestions. Soon they will be empty half the time when it becomes autonomous vehicles. And Netflix is funneling everyone into its own produced content designed for the algorithm retention. So in Europe, there are a lot of efforts to fight back this black box of power that does not have public interest in mind. And I'm proud to live in Europe for this. I want to name a few efforts in Europe, and I need to read them because there's so many. So in Europe we have the AI Act, the Digital Markets Act, the Digital Services Act, the Data Act, the Data Governance Act. We're not lacking all of these regulations, and I'm proud to have them, but also they are rigid. Oftentimes it's hard to understand how to apply them in practice, and they are very slow to evolve compared to the pace of tech. And especially now with AI that is transforming our lives more and more, including our public lives, we need a way to govern technology that is agile, that is transparent, so that the benefits of tech, generally speaking, doesn't only benefit corporate elites or even worse, military leaders, but let's not get there. I'm more of a pessimistic. So back to mobility, I think my talk from today is just sharing back learnings from working in a community-led technology space for the past 4 years, and to share back some of what I've learned to other folks working in the ethical tech space. And so what I've learned is that in any community-led tech, it's important to have strong guiding principles and shared outcomes. And it seems to be very simple, but in practice, in all of our design conversations in the GTFS and GBFS space, this always comes back because everyone in the room have their own interests. Sometimes the shared outcomes are not to the benefits of individual players, so we need to have them. And so, to give you an example, in GTFS, we have only passenger information. Oftentimes people are tempted to standardize everything, to make other use cases, and we have this principle of only passenger information. We also have a principle of making GTFS easy to produce. We give priority to that over easy to consume, so it means our life is to make the public transit agencies responsible for creating the data as easy as possible, even if it means that on the technology side or trip planning side, it's a bit more complicated. And the third guiding principle we have is no speculative features. Every proposal needs to have been tested in practice by a real agency and a real trip planner before anything is adopted. And here on the right, you see the list of folks that are part of one of our working groups from GTFS fairs. Some of them are in the room, which is a way to model fair information. So it's also important to have the public and the private sector involved in the conversations. More learnings, having a neutral organization to enforce these guiding principles, to think of the long-term sustainability, to provide resources. And so here is a graph of direct contribution to the GTFS format. So to go in the nerd details, it's pull request on GitHub, so it's the most intense way to contribute. there are a lot of other ways to contribute to the standard. In reality, there are a lot more people. But this is the folks that write the standards, and we can see that even if it was an open community-led standard, before we existed, it was actually not a lot of people that were writing the standard, and after we existed, we see that a lot of more people join because we try to lower the barrier to contribute as much as possible. And on a side note, external contributions is a KPI for us. It's a measure. It's how we measure our success, the amount of external contributions. Also, make it fun. It's rarely the obvious business decision to join community-led ecosystems. And a few years ago, I went to a conference from OpenStreetMap, which is a project that fascinates me. And the founder said something. People join communities because they need something, but they stay because it's fun. And I find it's very true. The things I am part of, I often go just because I have fun, but for the first time I joined because I wanted to talk to someone or I had a business case. The business case is not obvious for this kind of work. Limitations from open ecosystem. So anybody can contribute. Rarely means everybody contributes. Most of open source projects have one maintainer. We love them, we need them. But what's important is to track external contributions as a measure of success for open source maintainers. Open code or open data doesn't necessarily mean equitable access to using it. And a few years ago, I lived in New Zealand, and there is a community that created a special license. I will not try to pronounce it, but I can talk about it after. That limits the access to the data, and they say we love open data, we're all for it, but to access our data, you need to prove that you have our benefits in mind. And it's a community of indigenous folks, and it's access to language data. So pretty much we don't want to publish our language and have it fit ChatGPT, and that's it. Yeah, okay, I need to wrap up. But one last point, if I have time. Open source isn't always the obvious choice for business. One leads to the image here. Adaptability can compete with stability. So a flexible governance can be less stable. So on the right, it's an image from OpenStreetMap that has a very flexible governance. You can arrive and erase the Empire State Building if you want to. And on the right, it's a vandalism. There is a contest of best vandalism in OpenStreetMap, and this was a winner. And it's a way to show that that it can be scary to have systems that are flexible and anyone can make changes. And lastly, who should fund this work? So that's a big question. The government, the private sector. I could go on, but I will stop there. So some questions to explore that I'd love to chat with you after. How can community-led governance align with the EU public interest tech agenda? How can we structure the unstructured nature of it? And how can we get a bottom-up implementation of EU outcomes? Do we have time for questions?
Yeah, is there some questions?
That's gentle.